Welcome to Daily Bread. As always, this reading is timeless, which means whenever you find this message, or whenever this message finds you, is when you're meant to see it. So please, take what resonates and leave the rest for someone else. The energy's already been cleared. Let's get started. Let's start by asking Source, what is the energy we should focus on for this message? Source, what is the energy we should focus on for this message? Source, what is the energy we should focus on for this message? Surrender. So right now, Source is telling someone that there are a lot of changes that are being made in your environment. There are a lot of things, and when I say environment, that is actually like your internal environment as far as your emotions and your thoughts and your beliefs. And when it comes to surrender, that means that there are changes that have happened in your external environment that are causing you to make changes in your internal environment in fundamental ways. Like I see someone who's changing some of the most basic tenets that they've always believed in their entire life. And this can look like someone who's recovering from spiritual wounds, from religion that you were involved in, a church or a temple or something like that, and something else in your experience that has just shaken you that deeply to your foundations, that you have finally reached a point where Source is making you say, you have to surrender some of those limiting beliefs because things change and evolve, and including your understanding of the world, because your understanding of the world is a fraction of a fraction of a fraction to begin with. And as you learn more, that fraction doesn't get bigger, it actually gets smaller. So of course we end up surrendering things that we used to think were true. And that's where I see someone right now. So let's go into the tarot and see what else Source is trying to tell us about surrendering. Ooh. You'll have to forgive me. I have carpal tunnel, or not anymore. I had it fixed. Source, what else about surrender are you trying to tell us right now? Source, what else are you trying to tell us about surrender right now? Huh. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. So first, the Knight of Pentacles. So starting your energies off with the Knight of Pentacles is I'm seeing that someone has already been sowing a lot of seeds in the right direction, that you've been seeing this change coming and you've been seeing the evidence mounting up, and you've been responding practically and logically, which is why you're at a place to surrender it to begin with. And then you have the King of Swords. And this is telling me that someone has really reached a point of mental clarity where the things that you doubt, you now know that if you doubt it, you have a reason to doubt it, and you can examine that objectively without fear and without moralizing those evaluations in and of themselves. Like it's not good or bad to evaluate whether something is a good or bad thing for you. So, and finally, I saw the Sun card, which lets me know that someone is about to achieve enlightenment, and with that, greater peace and greater joy. So, and I know this seems a little bit esoteric, so I'm going to let someone, I'm speaking to somebody, I'm going to let you know how this is going to play out. So the seeds that you have been sowing along the way, I see someone who has been doing their best to take care of others as well as of themselves. And in some ways, someone has been taking and living a minimalist lifestyle, and been choosing to go without in certain ways, that people would see it as, some people might see it as going without, but you would see it as understanding what's necessary. So I see someone who's been living and going on what's necessary, trying to live simply so others may simply live, and sowing seeds of love and joy and peace and understanding. And what that looks like is you're the calm, level-headed person that people come to when there's emergencies. This also looks like you're the type of person who people might just tell you their problems just randomly. And when you listen, you listen. And the thing that opens people's hearts, the things that make people open their heart to you is how you listen, because you listen in such a way that you can hear what their heart is saying, almost like notes to a song. And what Source is telling you right now is you've sown so many seeds that only good things can come to you. And with the King of Swords, what I'm seeing is someone in this mentally clear state. You are also a very practical person, is what I'm seeing. And when you're coming to this barrier that you've been having in your heart and your soul from whatever it is that you have to surrender to, that has been limiting you, you are looking at it so objectively, because you don't want to be seen as selfish, because you're not selfish. And the people who would see you as selfish are it's so kind, but the people who would see you as selfish, just the fact that you're sitting there worrying about if they would think negatively of you after some of the ways in which you've had to help them. I mean, that's just going to show that you're probably rationalizing to protect other people. So with this King of Swords, what I'm really seeing is being able to say, okay, there is a path forward through whatever wilderness I find myself in, including the wilderness of my own soul. And even there's a voice that you can listen to, and you know that that voice is Source. So I see someone who's going to, and this is what Source is asking you to do in times of surrender, is come closer and remind yourself and reaffirm those things that you know to be true. So I see someone who's making affirmations, because that's what affirmations are. Affirmations are statements that we make that are true about ourselves, and we make those statements when we feel them. And then, so that way, when we don't feel them, when we get into these states where we feel like our world is shaken, we use them as anchors to bring us back to points that we can remind ourselves of something that we know to be true. And that's why I see someone reaching this Sun card here. So the Sun card represents the most positive energy in the deck. So I see someone after this internal struggle, like your world was bright. Your world is going to be the sun times brighter than it previously was. And this is going to look like opportunities for generational wealth, generational abundance. This is going to have opportunities for reaching audiences that are going to grow seeds, that grow seeds, that grow seeds. This is someone receiving the blessing of Abraham, should you so receive it. And Source is saying that's the kind of vision, that's the kind of joy, that's the kind of enlightenment that comes at the end of this kind of surrender, because this kind of surrender leads you into a much deeper relationship with Source and an understanding of where your consciousness is in relation to the consciousness of Source. So let's go to the Oracle and see what actions or advice we have to go with surrendering and reaching this new level of peace and enlightenment in our lives. Yeah, but congratulations to somebody. Somebody is really going to struggle with all those generational curses that have been inside of their families for generations, as the name so implies. And you're starting to be able to separate what are the curses and what are the actions and what are the effects of the curses on the actions. And this is going to take a lot of judgment. And I see a lot of good quiet time, and a lot of journaling and a lot of self-reflection, and just really trying to understand the butterfly effect of things. But be careful not to get too into overthinking it, because things at the end, they balance out and they'll be clear when you listen to Source. Source will guide you. Source is that voice for you in the wilderness. Ooh. Time for a nap and message in a bottle. Yep. So time for a nap is basically saying get to a quiet place, rest your mind, and come to Source. Just take some time to meditate, Take some time to get into a place where you feel connected more to source. And that's when these messages are going to come through. When we quiet our minds, and you already know this, when we just remember, anytime you feel those triggers in your body, and maybe it's that you start to hear your heartbeat in your ears. Maybe it's like you start to feel your heart pounding in your chest, or maybe any sign of stress that you start to feel. Those are the times when you need to remind yourself to quiet down. Take a deep breath and really try to get into a clear headspace to allow those downloads to come through. And you have maybe practiced doing this at home when you are by yourself, but the life that source is trying to call you to, you're going to have to start learning how to not just walk with this, but run with this. And that's how you're going to start manifesting miracles in your life, because you've practiced it enough in solitude, and now you're going to start doing it while engaging more and more. And once you start, flexing your legs with that, being able to do that more, you're going to start seeing these downloads come through, and they're just going to take you everywhere, anywhere you want to go, all good places. So let's pull one last card from the Loving Universe Major Arcana and see if there are any lessons or additional guidance or messages that Source would be sending us for this message. Judgment. Yep. Judgment. In the Hierophant. So absolutely. So judgment is about taking that time to understand that we are going to be self-reflective creatures. And when we do that, we are we are evaluating our consciousness. And somehow we are able to observe our consciousness from outside our own consciousness, which begs to question, what's the consciousness that's observing us? And that's what judgment represents. And that's why this is the throne. And that's why it is empty, because you get to choose who sits there on that throne. Who is your God, essentially? And how do you find that out? You take time to spend time with your God. And in doing so, and this is what the Hierophant represents. Hierophant represents beliefs and rectified beliefs, and the quality of the relationships that we have with our mentors and basically the people who are leading us, or the sources that we get our guidance and leadership from. So this is just double affirming that someone really needs to take some time and get into that space where they're reminding themselves, who is my God? And understand and really running with that. Because when you take the time to connect with God in you, those messages will start coming through at all times, and you're going to see your creativity, your money, your personal relationships, all positive things come your way. So that's what I have for you. If this resonated, please press that like button over there, follow and share, and I'll see you next time.